In case you haven't heard, AI search is changing everything. Here's a question. When an AI assistant pulls your brand into a conversation, you want to be cited or do you want to be recommended? Because those are not the same thing, and they have very different business implications. Yet I think a lot of marketing leaders, especially those who are kind of new to this space, are getting caught up in the AIO hype. They're lumping them together under this big messy umbrella of AI SEO. And losing that nuance is a mistake, and it has ramifications for the success or failure of your AIO strategy. So let's start with citations. Being cited in AI search means the system is pulling from your content as a source of truth. It's like being the footnote in an encyclopedia. You're being identified as an expert, someone who's worth quoting, worth citing. Maybe it's just explained really well. It's readable. It builds your credibility, but citations don't necessarily drive someone to choose you as a product. It just makes them more likely to trust what you're saying. Now, being recommended, that's a whole different game. And that's where we start getting into more high intent or at least kind of mid-level intent queries. Recommendations are when the AI is actually naming you as a go-to choice in a product recommendation type prompt. So think something like, best software or, top service in my city. That's where your brand can get spotlighted for a potential buyer. This is the difference between being quoted in a textbook, versus asking your friend who their plumber is. Recommendations live much closer to revenue and they shape decisions in real time. And so it's good to go after both, but you have to recognize the purpose of each. One is building credibility, visibility, and the other is really driving business impact. So why does everyone mash these two together? Well, I think it's just because we have a lot of newcomers to the space. And although us SEOs have been talking about different intents of queries for years, a lot of people are new to the space and they're kind of lumping everything under this AI SEO, even though a lot of it is best practices that we've been doing for years. But there's a difference. You can chase citations all day long with thought leadership and white papers, but that isn't necessarily going to move the needle if you're not getting recommended in high intent queries. And if you confuse these, you're going to end up with mismatched KPIs. You're going to waste your budget. And leadership is saying, hey, we gave you all this money for AIO. Why aren't we winning? Why aren't we actually bringing in more revenue? Well, it's because we're being cited for a bunch of informational queries. People are seeing us come up in news articles or whatever, but we're not actually being recommended as a service or a product for people who want to buy it. All right. So here's the fix. You got to split your strategy. Like I said, you got to go after both. But for citations, this is really an earned media play, just to use traditional language, right? You're publishing original research. You're sharing unique data and insights. You're being a source that news outlets, other web publications want to cite. It makes them look good to cite you. So this is kind of a digital PR play, if you want to use some newer terms. For recommendations, though, this is about, review sites and review listicles and your aggregator review sites like, G2 or Trust Radius, things like that. You want to do both because it's important to be a credible brand, but it's also important to be a highly recommended brand from people who have used you before, for people who are shaping public opinion like analysts. So next time someone says we need an AIO strategy or an AI SEO strategy, dig in a little bit. You mean citations? You mean recommendations. They're not twins. They're cousins, and mixing them up will cost you. You want authority? Get cited. You want influence? Fight to be recommended. And if you want to win, do both.